Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while. I have been feeling quite unwell, but thank God I'm back. I'm now recuperating. And a lot has really happened. And one of them that I really want to add my voice on is the story about Mackenzie and the Shakaloha massacre. I know a lot has been said about this, but there are four gray areas that I want us to talk about, because Kenyans are still reeling from that shock and they are wondering what is really happening. This is one of the lowest moments we have witnessed in our country, and very, very shameful. But why is it that in Kenya a year does not pass without these ridiculous stories about the clergy and the religious leaders hoodwinking in daylight Kenyans who are supposed to know what they are supposed to do? And these four gray areas that I want us to talk about are very paramount if we have to avert such kind of things happening in the near future, because we cannot sit back and watch more than 100 people being massacred. They are killed under the watch of a government that swore and took oath of office to protect lives. And number one that I want us to talk about is the gray area in our constitution. In Article 32 of the 2010 Constitution, it talks about the freedom of worship. And it says that there is freedom of conscience, religion, belief, and opinion. And this is what it says: that every person has the right to freedom of conscience, religion, thought, belief, and opinion. And it goes ahead to say that every person has the right, either individually or in community with others, in public or in private, to manifest any religion, underline that, any religion or belief through worship, practice, teaching, or observance, including observance of a day of worship. Then it says, a person may not be denied access to any institution, employment, or a facility, or the employment of any right because of the person's belief or religion. Then the last one, it says that a person shall not be compelled to act or engage in any act that is contrary to the person's belief or religion. This is what Article 32 of our Constitution says, ladies and gentlemen. And the drafters of the 2010 Constitution did not envisage a situation where men of God would take advantage of worshippers to play around with them, hoodwink them, and subject them to injury or death. And this is why it starts by saying that every person has the right to freedom of conscience, because the Constitution envisages a situation where every person will decide. The decision is left for the citizens to decide. This is why people like Mackenzie could not be caught early enough, because the government does not want to interfere with people's religion. They believe that once you have decided that you subscribe to a particular religion, you know why you are there. You know what is good for you. You know what is bad. And number two is really even baffling, because they say that a person may not be... number two is really baffling because it says that any person has the right, either individually or communally with others, in public or in private, to manifest any religion. So it does not define, because I know the drafters of the Constitution did not want to give the leeway for the government to start interfering with how people would worship on a day that they want to decide to worship, because Muslims worship on Friday, the Seventh-day Adventists worship on Saturday, and the other churches like the Catholics worship on Sunday. So they gave the freedom. But from what has happened, ladies and gentlemen, it is very clear that we need to revisit our constitution. We need to look at what is supposed to be done. We cannot let this mad clergy to take advantage of Kenyans. If we had a mechanism and policies that sometimes allow the government to know what is happening in our churches and mosques, perhaps this would have not happened. And this is why I'm saying that it is time to relook into our constitution. I'm saying this because if you look at the demonstrations that are going on, Raila is saying that it is time to relook into what is guiding our elections. And this is why he's even suggesting that we must now devolve our elections so that when a presiding officer or a returning officer announces a presidential result at the constituency level, it is final so that it is not subject to manipulation at the boomers, at the National Tallying Center. If you listen to members of parliament from Mount Kenya, some of them are saying that maybe it is time we relook into the issue of 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. And this tells you that this is the right time for us to look at our constitution. You see, when Kenyans were passing this new constitution, the proposers of the new constitution had said that 80% was good, but there was some 20% that they wanted to look at in the near future. That future is now. We need to look at the corners of our constitution and see where we need to change, what we need to change. And this includes religious matters in a way that will also not give the government the leeway to interfere maybe with the religious leaders who do not conform to their political ideologies. I think it is the right time. I don't know what to think, but please tell me what you think. Number 2 that I want us to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, is an individual's decision, just like the Constitution says that you have the freedom of conscience. But mine is to say that if you subscribe to a particular religion, read the holy books that guide that religion. If you're a Christian, read your Bible. If you're a Muslim, read the Quran. Because in Hosea chapter 4 verses 6, it is very clear. It says that my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Others put it that my people perish for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I also will reject you from being priest for me. Because you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children. But my main point is, my people are destroyed, or my people perish because of lack of knowledge. You can only get knowledge concerning the religion that you follow, the religion that you subscribe to, by reading the same books that guide that religion. The Bible talks about fasting because it was very baffling that Mackenzie subjected his people to fasting until they die, and I understand that he was telling them that after that you will see Jesus. If he wanted to see Jesus, why couldn't he die himself? Why does he subject people to death? Because I believe in himself, if he was a follower of Jesus, he would want to see that Jesus. But the Bible is very clear. There are guidelines that follow fasting. And I don't want to go to it so much because this is not a sermon. But for anyone who reads his Bible, you will know the circumstances under which people fast. Because fasting is not really, it is a sacrifice and it is a moment of communication with your God. Sometimes it was meant for confession of sins, and sometimes it was meant to avert a particular calamity that was to befall a nation. And in those circumstances, we have never read anywhere in the Bible where people fasted until they died. And so if a person would come and start hoodwinking his people to fast until they die, it is a lack of knowledge because they don't read their Bibles. And I really urge our people, if you worship in a particular church or you follow a particular religion, please get the right books and understand. Otherwise, our clergy will continue taking advantage. This is why they have decided to convert our churches into political podiums. This is why they have decided to change our church, to convert our churches into a marketplace where you get healing after paying. What has happened now is that they are now commercializing our religion. For you to get a husband, to get a wife, to get healed, to get a job, you must pay for it. It is because they are taking advantage because we don't read our Bibles. And this is a gray area that I really want us to look at, but it boils down to you as an individual, because no one can force you to read your Quran, no one can force you to read and understand your Bible. This is why they are taking advantage. Number 3, ladies and gentlemen, is the issue of our leaders. But the Bible is very clear about leaders. If we are led by hypocrites, then the calamity or the wrath of God will fall on us. In Proverbs 29 verses 16, it is very clear. It says, if the wicked are ruling the nation, sin will be everywhere, but those who live right will win in the end. So if we are led by wicked people, we are bound to suffer. And some of these things that we are facing is because the wrath of God is falling upon us. Right from State House, we have decided to mock God. When the weatherman has advised the president that we are about to receive rains, we call for prayers in Nyayo, and we say that we are praying for rains and we believe that in the next few weeks it will rain. Then when it rains, we say, no, God, now we have talked to God and God has given us rain. It is true, God gives us rain, but this is as a result of the information from the weatherman. And we have turned our churches. Every Sunday, you'll see our president and the deputy president going to churches to play politics. This is blasphemy and a mockery that God cannot allow. And it is something that our leaders must stop. Otherwise, we will continue to get the wrath of God, and we will drink from the wrath of God. And these are some of the calamities that we face. The same Proverbs 29 verses 28 says that if a nation is not guided by God, the people will lose self-control, but the nation that obeys God, that obey God's law, will be happy. That is it. If a nation is not guided by God. If we are not guided by God, we do things the way we want. The clergy that are supposed to stand up and condemn these illegalities, these politics in churches, have been pocketed by the government, and they cannot condemn. And they are part and parcel of the problem. This is why we face such kind of things. We must condemn this kind of commercialization of our religion, and we must condemn turning our churches into political podiums, because it angers God, and it is the reason why we face many riots, many deaths, people killing each other. The last one is the laxity of the government. There is no way a government that has got intelligence, an area where there is an administrative organization, the chief, the sub-chiefs, the DU and the DC and the police, such a thing happens and they don't know. This could have been averted. The problem is that we have now decided to misprioritize what we want to do. We are so much focused about Azimio and Raila and their rallies. Our deputy president will always condemn what is happening in the rallies, and they say that their businesses are being destroyed. Yet families are being killed in Kilifi. This, if it were in the Western nations, someone would have taken responsibility and resigned or go to court, because we have people who are paid by taxpayers' money to ensure that we are safe. Yet this happened under their nose because they are following wrong priority. This is something that we must condemn, and someone must come up and explain. We are dealing with a reactive government, not a proactive government. We need to avert things before they happen. So ladies and gentlemen, these are things that we must look at, but the main one is to look into our constitution so that we can debate it very soberly and see what must be done, not to allow such kind of pastors that prey on their worshippers. I don't know what to think, but this is my take.